seconds here. Get that started. Hello, everybody. All right, I've been chatting a bit, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming tonight. With everybody that we have here and everybody that may be watching the replay, I did have a session in mind to kind of go through one of our processes and our programs called lenses, pardon me, where we really kind of take a big, broad spectrum look at where we want to be in you know, say a year or 2 years, something like that, and really dial us in to kind of focus on where we really want to be. Not so much a goal, but you know, more like choices. Like, where do I really want to be in a year? Like, do I really want to be exactly where I am? If I had to make some shifts, what would it be? You know, and I feel like that might be a good fit tonight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of that, and then we're going to do a meditation after. And the fun thing about this is that we can kind of, the superconscious, the whole field sort of just dials me into what I need to do for the evening. And it's kind of cool. I feel like I'm half and half. And now that I have this group here, I know exactly what I want to do. So we're just gonna dream a little bit and kind of get into a fun place, because how cool is it that you guys actually took the time for yourselves for this next hour to listen to yourselves, to give yourselves an opportunity to slow down, to open up the mind a little bit, to really kind of shut off all the outside stuff and just really ask yourself what it is that you really need and what you really want, and have fun with it. You know, like, you have a blank slate almost always, because you can always make different choices every day. You can always choose to go back to the way you were, right? You could always go be that, I don't know, that I was like, you know, the crazy massage therapist that gave absolutely everything all the time to everyone. And when they'd ask me who's massaging you, I'd laugh. And, you know, we're not talking about me. It was never about me. And so looking at self-care, looking all this, it was so unknown. And I didn't understand that just by, you know, looking and taking that time for yourself was truly self-care. It's probably the biggest self-care you can get, because I was explaining these chemical cocktails that we can make for ourselves. A lot of people, we look to just take structural tension off, right? So when we want something, we're sort of pulling towards something. And as we try and sort of get towards that thing, there's often some tension that tends to happen. Like, you know, if something's hot, it kind of wants to be cold. If something's cold, it's gonna, you know, it's gonna try and end up, or if it's frozen, it's gonna end up melting. It's always gonna end up changing a state, just like we are. And so when you think, you know, this is causing tension, your body's going to do something to relieve it. So what's it going to do? Sometimes it's going to eat to relieve the tension. Sometimes it's going to go on Facebook to relieve the tension. Sometimes it's going to go smoke to relieve tension. Sometimes it's going to go have a drink. Sometimes it's going to go, you know, do anything, right? Like avoid anything. For me, I even noticed, like, okay, I really focusing. I'm like, oh, maybe I should start doing this. Maybe I should get another animal. Maybe I should get a foster kid. Like, oh my gosh, try and avoid, you know, doing this. Like, my focus is my business and this is where I want to go. And still the squirrel likes to go, hey, we got a nut, we got to put a nut, let's put a nut over there. Like, it's funny. And even with Chris, the mentor that I have that taught me the technique that we do, as soon as he and his wife had been fighting for a visa for like 6 years, and as soon as they got it, it was almost the next week, he's like, maybe we should move to Mexico. And then he was like, I'm going to start this fight for visas all over. And like, why would I do that? But you're so used to fighting for doing that, you know, for fighting for something, that it's like, if you've been hit on the hammer for 25 years, you're going to kind of go to where the hammer is going to hit you. Otherwise, it's not going to feel the same. It's going to feel different. And our whole unconscious mind is very uncomfortable with different. The nice thing is the superconscious mind really doesn't have the feeling. So it doesn't care what you really want. All it knows is what you're focusing on. So this is why, you know, if we're focusing on the fact that, you know, what do we tell ourselves? I like doing group sessions, and I like listening to what we're telling ourselves. And I want you guys to think of a familiar story you've told yourself right now. And this might be difficult at first, but think about something you would have said in the last month. As far as, for me, it was like, I know I've said, I am so terrible at computers. Like I touch it and it goes, like it's just, massage therapists and computers are not a good mix. That's a story that I've always said. I've always also said massage therapists are flaky, and all of us agree, because you have to be a little flaky to be in a small room and massage someone for an hour in the dark with relaxing music over and over again all day, listening to absolutely everything that is going on with them, and not be able to, completely take that on. And like, you have to be a little flaky to be able to just, have your schedule kind of go all awry in a day and never know how much you're making. Like, you can't be as type A person and be a really easygoing massage therapist. It just doesn't work. But maybe it does. I don't know that. That was just my story. So I'd love if you guys can have some fun in the sandbox with me, because this is literally, we're just going to try to have some fun here. What's one of the stories that you've told yourself? I have also told myself I'm a complete failure. That was a story that I used to say to myself. I didn't realize that I was even saying it to myself, but this is the nice thing about coaching, is I get to ask these questions, or ask certain questions. Normally what I would do is, if I'm doing a one-on-one, I would unpack it a little bit by talking to the person, having that sort of rapport, but listening to the things that they're saying. Because I've had, like, I'll pull out one of my coaching sessions here. I can't have money. I can't have more money than my mom. Was this one woman was like, to be married is like being in jail. So, and she couldn't figure out why she was still single after all these years. But to her, being married was a prison sentence. And it was really weird, because she's on her fifth husband and 4 of them died. Like, she left the 5th one. But these stories are very powerful. So you have to kind of really listen to what you're saying to yourselves. So even if it's something like, if it doesn't have to necessarily be about you, but what's a story that you believe? What's your opinion of the world right now? Like, that's something I've found myself probably saying almost every day. The world is, my husband uses a different word than I do, but I'm like, the world is crazy. Like, the world is hard. Like, the world is, and then when you look at that, that's your belief, right? So it's like, the world is hard. The world is very hard when you feel like the world is hard, when that's a story, when that's a sentence that comes out of your mouth because it's in your subconscious. It's really a focus, and it's something that does end up being what you kind of focus on. So throw something at me. I'll just pull up the chat here. Throw something at me that you guys have found yourself saying to yourself before. Can you think of anything? This is kind of a tough question, because it's hard to think of it sometimes yourself. And I catch people and I'm like, do you realize that you actually said, I'll never be rich 4 times tonight? And they were like, no. Have you guys ever said that? I'll never be a millionaire. I used to say that all the time. And it drove my husband crazy, because he's like, well, not if you think like that, because I'm sure you guys have heard that, right? Like, well, if that's what you think, then that's what's going to happen. Having this thought right now is not making what it happens, but having that feeling behind that thought, like, I really felt like, no, I would never, I knew in my soul that I would never be a millionaire. I'd never, like, because why? Because I always gave away. It was just something that I did. I had this kind of inner vow that I would never have more than anybody else. Right. Like, yeah. Yes, Shannon, I'm a procrastinator, or I never follow through. I'm not a person that follows through, or, so, and to me, I'm a procrastinator. That's very powerful, because you actually know that you're a procrastinator, right? And so this is a huge thing that you can work on, and it's not a judgment. It's just a story, right? And this is, oh, what an ideal story to tell ourselves. I'm not smart enough. Yes, right? And I'm not smart enough. That is, if you guys don't know, one of the 6 most common beliefs that people have. And that is something that like probably 95% of people feel. We all feel like we're not smart enough. And I'd like to ask you, not smart enough for what? Because you're, to me, right, just knowing a bit about Suzanne. Suzanne is a person who is like beyond intelligent as far as the things that she's able to create, the things that she can create for people. Like if there was ever a party planner, a keto chef that I needed to hire, a workout accountability partner that I needed to buy, a best friend in the whole world that would have your back no matter what, a mama bear who would like there's Suzanne right there. And really smart enough for what you could, there's nothing that you absolutely can't do or change as far as being smart enough, because you can always take a little course or, but it's funny, we get characterized when we're in school as, not being smart enough or not being, and it's really funny because the things that we learn in school, I mean, who says those are the things that we are learning? I'm looking at, like, today, I was helping a grade 4 with his homework, and he's working on Canada. And it's like, so why did people come to Canada? Because it's the freest country in the world, because it has freedom of practiced religion. It has free land. It had free food and shelter. And I'm looking at all of this and I'm like, this is so inaccurate. Like all of the things that we learned, they're so inaccurate. They're almost like reading the news now. It's like, there's these things that were just put in place in a structure for us all to do so that people could work all day, and they had things that would kind of move them forward in some way, but they didn't really know about epigenetics and the things we carry around for 7 generations and the things we focus on and all the things the abuse would do over time of these kids having to sit through a bloody pre-cal class when they're a complete empath and are going to focus on science. Like, what if they had schools that really focused on the strengths of the kids and you were able to go into something? I don't think any of us would feel as though we're not smart enough or not capable enough, because we were basically taught that by being graded like everybody else, right? Like, it's so general. It's like going and having your blood work done, and just because 1.1 to 8.3 is average and you were 8.4, now you're high. Now we got to do something, says who, right? And why? Those numbers are they're old as well. They're not even as updated. So it's kind of like our beliefs, right? We end up adapting. Some of the structures that we had in place before are not necessarily going to be the structures that are working for us now to get us to where we want to go. Were you a person who was on this sort of awakened journey back then? Had you heard any of this, you might call someone and have me locked up. But now it's like, you know what, I feel it. I know it. I know there's more. I know I'm capable of more. But why do I feel this way, right? And it's the stories we've been telling ourselves. And the funny, weird thing is when we look at them, if I was your best friend looking at you, I'm like, it's so not true. Like, why are you lying to my friend? Don't do that. Don't lie. You were plenty smart enough. Like, my goodness, you might not be able to reprogram a computer, but you can, there's so many other, you could write a course on, or a cookbook, or like things I could never imagine doing, right? Yes, and absolutely overthinking and emotional. And that structure is, overthinking is usually we're trying to be perfect. We're trying to make sure that it's all going to be good before we put it out there. And who says there's ever a perfect thing? So we're always striving for something that we're never going to get. And it's just so hard on ourselves, right? And then being emotional is such a hard thing, because being emotional is probably one of the things people avoid the most, because we feel weak when we cry, or we feel, like we're not as strong as everybody else. How are they all holding up? And I'm the ugliest crier. And really the people that I deal with, the stuff that I hear every day, I cry probably every day just because I'm in that feeling with them. But I tell you, I would rather be feeling than not feeling, because the not feeling only works for so long. And when you're not feeling, you're not making the choices that are feeding your spirit and your soul, and you waste so much time that way. And I don't know, you guys. I think a lot of people have been realizing that time is very, very relative and it can be gone in a flash, right? And overwhelm. So overwhelm comes from a lot, right? Overwhelm comes from the unknown. It's just so much unknown. And I don't think in we've ever had a time where it's been more overwhelming, to be perfectly honest with you. Having things completely out of our control, just not being able to get a grip, right? Like just feeling like you're hanging on a stick that's you're just trying to keep your head above water. And that's pretty much how I spent probably the last 20 years. And so it's been really enlightening being able to actually kind of find a couple things that really help. And so this is where these lenses are going to come in, okay? Because this lenses document, I should have your emails. Make sure, Wendy, before you leave, you shoot me your email and I'll send you guys the PDF. It's 102 pages, but don't let that scare you because we really only use 12. What this is that it's a 90-day document, because really it takes about 3 months to kind of get your stuff together, right? Get into new perfect. Thanks, love. Just to get into new habits, right? New structures. I mean, think of it. These structures have been set up for a very, very long time and they're very strong and they have many paths leading to them. So what we do is we start creating some new paths, right? So I'm just going to write this so that I don't mess up, because another thing I used to always think I could do was multitask, and apparently I'm only so good at it. Awesome. So I'll make sure I send it to you guys. So literally print out about the first 12 pages. And this is, it's really big stuff. This is actually a morning ritual program that I sell for $500 usually. That is a whole 90-day program that we go through. And so the nice thing about having this group always on Fridays, you can always kind of come and check in. And if you have questions and that kind of stuff, I'm always here. But the other thing is that if we kind of check in on them weekly, what happens is you look back at some of the stuff that you wrote and you have a very clear picture. So what we do is we go out big, and we call it lenses because we kind of dial it in. Okay. So we go out big, we go, you know what, where do I really want to be in a year? We kind of let everything go. We kind of like, we want to be almost playful. Like it's really hard because stuff's heavy and I feel like the heaviness right now. There's a lot of stuff, right? And we're just going to literally kind of forget about it all. Forget about the fact that we're maybe not even working right now. Forget about the fact that stuff's like changing like crazy. If it didn't matter if we had won the lottery, say, and we had, found the perfect place, we're completely painting a picture. We're completely making up a photo of what it would be in your ideal week, in your ideal world. If everything sort of went as planned and you were just, it can be anything. It can be literally living in the Smurf village in Disneyland just popped into my head. I don't know who likes Disneyland on here, but that's where I went. That was funny. It can be absolutely anything. Like it can be lying on a floor with a bunch of puppies. It can be walking a dog on a beach. It can be swinging on swings with your kids. It doesn't have to be anything huge. It can be living in a mansion with a servant for each floor. It can be having this beautiful, I can feel like this beautiful house, this beautiful, like nice white clean house with this gorgeous kitchen and like maybe even a couple of people just there and cooking with you, and just, having like all these green veggies around, like just picturing like a perfect life. For me, I go right into my garden and I see this greenhouse that I have built. And every time I do this, like I literally do this every day, it changes a little bit because I mean, your wants and your needs and your choices are going to change a little bit every day, but it's often, it kind of stays much the same, where this is really what you want. You just, even if it's just to feel happy, we've talked about this a little bit before, like if it's just running through a field, being happy without any cares, like what would that really, really, where would you like to sort of imaginarily be a year from now? And this, if you guys can share, just anything random as far as, where you could see things being. Would you be in the same job? Would you be in a new house? Just close your eyes even for just a minute. Take a nice deep breath. And I want you to just drop into yourself and picture a life that you really love. Like if someone was like, how's it going? You're like, oh, I love my life. What would you see around there? What would you feel? Would you feel just love? Would you just feel comfort? Doesn't have to be anything huge, doesn't have to be mansion. You could just be happy. You're thinking about a life that you really love. Like for me, it's honestly coaching. It's getting up, being able to just make my coffee, get my kids off to school. We walk back and forth. Like it's, the only thing I would change maybe is being in Mexico instead of the great up north freeze here right now. But it's really like, it's not that different than the life I have now, which I feel super, super grateful for. My husband, of course, wants to be a millionaire. So he, he really is stuck on that, because it's more of, the ease that life would be. So what if we were a millionaire? What would life look like right now? You just think about that. And if you can, just type in a feeling for me, share even one thing, if it's just ocean, or if it's animals, or if it's, what would a life you really love have in it? What would it look like for you? And this is part of the lenses, so you guys are going to see this on the page. We're gonna go into sort of like the 4 core main choices. And when we talk about choices, it's like when you wake up in a day, it's not like I want to meet a tall, dark, and handsome man, or that could be your goal, your choice for the day if you want to, but it narrows things down a little bit, right? Or I'd love to be with the man of my dreams, or the woman of my dreams, or I'd love to find a partner that loved me more than I love them, or I'd love to live on the beach. I choose to just live a life of happiness, that kind of thing. And when you think about that, if you guys don't want to share it too, that's totally fine. When you think about that, I want you to think about the feeling that gives you. So is it the mansion? Is it the beach? Is it the person? Is it what kind of feeling is it? What would that do for you? What would living a life that you love like that, what would that make you feel? Would it be happy? Would it be fulfilled, or supported? It's the first one that came up. Comfortable, secure. I feel like you guys are telling me. It's kind of neat. Happy, safe. And then if we're thinking about that, just a life that you love, what does being creative? Oh, I love that. Oh, I love that. It's so cool, because what happens is we go right into, maybe why we shouldn't have it, right? So feeling happiness, creativity, just feeling more open. I love that. No worries. Thanks, Wendy. Absolutely. And feeling peace. Yes, I love it. So feeling like there's still a void, and that is really interesting. I'm going to ask you, Temitope, do you feel like that it's more like something still missing, that even though you're feeling those things, that there's something maybe missing still? Is it kind of like a fear of that maybe still not being enough? Am I right on that? Awesome. And feeling peaceful. I like that. Okay, I'll let you answer that after too. Um, and we're going to go a little bit further into these true choices here. Awesome. Okay, yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. Okay, that's awesome because we can work with that. We're going to look a little bit at the being the true predominant creator in your life. Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys now, if you were to take total control of your choices, to have, you know, to have that true strength inside, to just really be able to kind of draw the right choices from the right places, the choices that really meant a lot to you, the choices that really, how you really want to feel. If you were to really be able to get control over those, just those emotions, just those feelings, how would it feel to live a life where you were the true predominant creator in your life, where you actually woke up every morning, spent a few minutes making those choices, directing your mind where to go with the life that you want to go to, instead of letting those other, those other things kind of get in our way, though they drag us away from sort of maybe sometimes doing some of this work on ourselves. Or we need to know, we need to do something in a day, but we kind of leave it, and then by the end of the day we're like, oh, I still have to do this, and then it gets left, and then the next day it's still kind of there. This is where this process comes in really handy, because we're actually going to take all of these things and kind of write them down. So it's a big document. I'm just going to get you guys set up for it so that I can give you homework and send it to you so that you can actually do the worksheet itself, because it's really fun. Now, the goal of it is we're going to look at two more true choices. And when we're making those choices, we're going to use those as four of our true choices, but you guys are going to make a couple other choices. You're going to make the choices for yourself. So for me, it was the one that I really am resonating with right now, is just following my joy to abundance, because what makes me really happy is helping and things like this, right? So being able to do that, but actually have the abundance, when I put that in there, all of a sudden I'm not just giving everything away like I always want to do. I have my group that I can just have random people join in. But to be honest, the paid groups that I have are the ones that are always really full, because people are making that commitment and that time, and they show up and they're doing it. And it's just the consistency, right? But because you're sometimes paying for it, you tend to do it a little bit more. But for me, when I have someone that I'm accountable to, I tend to do it a little bit more. So I'm sort of inviting you guys to be like accountability partners on Friday nights, where we can just not judge each other and not feel bad for not doing any other thing on our lenses, but for coming and making it a priority again. And if we've fallen off, we help each other get back on, because that's kind of the point of a coach. That's why I do what I do, because it's not always easy to just do it ourselves. We've had a lot of stuff go on. People have had different kinds of traumas, right? So sometimes you need different types of and times of being able to do a lot more than just the average person who hasn't been through a ton and just needs to really kind of focus on what they want to create. They can often just create like crazy because that's what they want, right? They know they want that, so they just go for it. They don't really care if they're a good person or if they're smart enough, or they're just go for it. And that is the key. As silly as it sounds, that is the key. So we're trying to get into our real choices so that we can really get pulled forward and really feel what we want. So this is where we get to ask ourselves something, okay? We're going to ask ourselves, if I was to live a life of true health and wellness, and true health and vitality, how would that feel? And I want you to just close your eyes for a minute and just think about it. Say to yourself, I choose a life of true health and vitality. I choose a life of true health and vitality. And when you just feel that for a minute, I choose a life of health and vitality. It doesn't matter if there's a diagnosis, a sickness, anything you have going on there. It doesn't matter. We're just going to live that life of health and vitality. And what does that feel like to you? Does that feel good? Does it feel really hard? Does it feel like, yeah, kind of doing that, or I could be doing a little more? This is where your body gets a chance to talk to you and your soul gets a chance to talk to you. For me, it's like, you got to get your meal plan going, girl. I've talked about this. It's been on my lenses for a month. It has. I need to drink more water. Those things have been on. Like, I know I need to get more sleep. Our eating has been way better. That's been, so huge. The shifts that have already come have been insane now that all the hormones are getting balanced. Like, it's just, I think of it on a cellular level, like really being healthy on a cellular level. It's not just eating good one day, or it's what you're doing to yourself on a cellular level, right? And again, making those really good choices. It's hard to make the good choice to make sure you're eating super well that day when you've already gone off kilter in the morning by spending the 2 hours on getting sucked into whatever it was that you got sucked into, and now those 2 hours are gone. And now, that was often the time that we could have, should have, would have, supposed to done something for ourselves. And so when we take this few minutes in the morning to just get into these true choices, and so what you're going to do in the morning is you're going to go, okay, I choose to live a life that I love. I choose. And this is what people do. This is the big thing. This is Tony Robbins. This is, all of the Bob Proctor. This is everything is about feeling this, making this choice for yourself, making this choice to actually live a life that you love, be the true predominant creative force in your life, live a life of true health and vitality. And now, what if you were living a life where you were actually truly living your true nature and purpose, like the true nature and purpose that you were meant to be here, what makes you really happy? Is it helping people? Is it just, like some people make placemats, and that is like that, they've found their purpose in that. They're so good at it. They love it. People want them. Like, who says it has to be inventing the neutron microscope? It just, everybody has different skills, but what is your true nature and purpose? Like, I was literally asking myself, I needed to desperately, make up my mind of how I was going to support my family. I needed to, make that choice. And when um this whole program that I ended up taking came into my lap, it was like those missing puzzle pieces kind of fell into my lap, because it was like, okay, I've taken pieces of everything from Colette Stryker to William Whitecloud to Joe Dispenza to Bob Proctor to the Dalai Lama, like the Abraham Hicks. There's so many teachers out there. I've read so many books. I've taken so many programs. And there was always it was always focusing on just fixing yourself. Well, okay, let's get over this then, and then let's get over your fears. And well, you can't just get over fears, right? It's like they've been implanted and been put in your structure to keep you very, very safe. And everybody's had different safety structures put up. So it's not a one and done for all, right? It's a very unique process, and everybody is going to go through it in their own way. But literally making those choices, feeling those choices every day. That's why the day agendas are so important and popular. That's why meditation is so important and popular. That's why you see just these agendas around everywhere now. It's all about the daytimers. There's every single multi-level marketing company has their own, or someone developing one for them, because they've known for the last 5 years that this is how the brain is wired. It needs that repetitive motion, needs that repetitive visual, needs that repetitive feeling to create that chemical cocktail in your body, which is exactly why so many of us are depressed, because we're focused on so many problems on such a regular basis and we don't even know it. Even if you're focusing on the fact that you're your windshield always gets cracked, if that's something that you tell yourselves as far as a story, like, oh, I'm not even going to bother getting a new windshield because it's just going to get cracked. Well, that is exactly what happens. And then what happens is your subconscious goes, hey, I told you so. I told you that was going to happen. See, you were paying attention. Meanwhile, who knows? If you hadn't ever thought about it, would it happen? Maybe, maybe not. But because you're focused on it, that's what's going to be in your field. And then you're going to see all these other cracked windshields. And then you're going to hear someone else talking about a cracked windshield. And it becomes part of your focus. And we have so many repetitive thoughts a day and so many billions of thoughts per second. We can only retain 2,000 per second. So let's make those 2,000 that we're going to retain be ones that are going to actually help us out and move us forward, instead of listening to all the chatter, right? All the what if, the fears, all that kind of stuff. It's huge. It's just so eye-opening. So when we actually write down our choices and we actually write down what would we need to do. So in this year, say it's a year from now for you guys, if we were going to get somewhere in a year's time, say we all want to just, have a bit of a successful business, just be happy, be comfortable, feel supported, to have, just to have people around. Just going to look through a couple of the others that we had. We had some good ones here. So when we look at the ways that we would feel if we were super healthy, if we were feeling a life of being our true nature and purpose, what would that look like? Okay, so we go to a year. Then after that, we dial it down and we go to 90 days. So 3 months from now, by January, if you wanted to be having a life that you love, if you wanted to be living your true nature and purpose, and you wanted to be living a life of health and wellness, and you're, being the true predominant creative force in your life, if you were to picture just 3 months down the road, what would that look like to you? And in the document that I will send you guys, it has this kind of 90-day goal, this sort of, vision. We're kind of dialing in the telescope a little bit. We're just dial it in a little bit. So 90 days. If we were to repeat that 90 days 4 times to get to that year, what would it be that we would really need to do? And the reason I'm asking you guys this, I'm going to make you kind of go inside for a minute and ask yourselves this. So I want you to just listen to what comes up, because this is your superconscious mind with all those memories in the field, all of the things that operate your programs, all of the things that were originally there by the time you were 7, all of these structures are all there. But what else is there is everything else that you have been, around in your field, has been placed there at little moments in time. All we're doing is we're looking at we're dialing in the GPS. Okay. So if we're not really focused on where we're going to go, it's like the GPS going rerouting. It's like the GPS trying to take me to St. Agath last night. I can't tell you how many wrong turns that stupid thing put us on. But this is literally where we're at, right? A GPS. So if you're not, let's type in our GPS. Let's dial it in a little bit. Let's put our destination for 3 months from now. And I want you to just think about that. I want you to think about, it can just be one of the choices. It doesn't have to be all 4. It doesn't have to be the other 2 I was talking about. It can just be one of them. Does one of them feel more like you're sort of drawn to it than the other? For me, I know that the health and wellness is where my focus has to be, because if I drop that, that's where everything kind of goes to poop. And that's where we kind of look at these things, right? So we're going to dial it into about 90 days. And in that 90 days, you're going to look at what you could do. So I write everything that I could do in 90 days. I could, get a foster child. Will I get a foster? I don't think so, but this is the stuff that comes into my brain. So this is where that overwhelm comes from, right? We want to dump it all right here. We're going to dump everything that we could do in the next 3 months. I know, I definitely, I know I need to add another group class just because my other groups are getting pretty big. I know I need to dial that in so that I get enough one-on-one time with everybody so that they can answer me and we can go through stuff, right? I know I need to just drink more water. I know I need to, because if I don't, I'm going to keep going back to it and I'm going to be like, oh, I gotta drink my water. And you get frustrated with yourself after you look at it every day by going, okay, I need to drink enough water till you finally go and drink your darn water, you know? But again, if you're not looking and focusing on it every day. So you have your could do and your will do. Then what we're going to do is we're going to dial it in a little more clear and concise. Okay. So let's look at that a little bit. So your 30-day, that's only a month. So what would you have to do this month to get yourself moved towards those 3 months of, getting to really where you want to be? It doesn't have to be a goal, because goals, once you achieve a goal, then you kind of need another goal to achieve. So, that's why we say health and wellness. It's not, I need to lose another 50 pounds. It's like, because that's just a huge goal. And that's just like, it's so involved. What do you need to do to lose that 50 pounds? Well, first I need to get a meal plan. Then I need to start drinking more water, right? Like it all comes back to the same thing. Or if I need to get more sleep, or just, this gives you a chance to just kind of listen to yourself for a minute. So when we're in the, we're going to go through a little meditation recode here so that we can get you guys just like dialed in and set up to do some homework. We're going to look at it even a little bit closer. So this 30 days, we want to go, what could I do? What will I do? So you're going to take some things from your 90-day goals. You're going to take some things, not all of them. But you're going to take what really in this month has to happen, right? So if it's your business, like for me, it was, I needed to, for the longest time, get my website running, or get my virtual assistant on board, or get my Trello boards up to date, get my just my files organized. So I knew where all my PDFs were to send people, all my particular ones, all my lessons, all my webinars. Like I just needed to organize everything so that I wasn't looking for everything. And that was huge, but it wasn't one of the things in my main focus, right? So if we look at environment first, look at your environment. Do you need to change anything in your environment? What's one thing? Do you need, when we look at our outside of our environment, it's often reflecting our inside. So you guys wouldn't want to see the other side of my office right now, because a girlfriend gave me a bunch of winemaking supplies and it's all over there. So if you saw that, you might worry about me a little bit. But aside from that, I've got my books, I've got my stones, I've got my essential oils here, I've got my diffuser. I don't have a ton of stuff around because I don't, that was my head. I was so cluttered. I had stuff everywhere. Other places in the house are another story. They're going to still be dealt with. But, it really makes you kind of look at different things. What if I really want to be in a different place in a month? What do I need to do? And so this is just a very brief moment to ask yourselves that, and really look at where you want to be in a month. And then you make it even clearer. It's taking that lens a little bit more to a week. And if you did your week 4 times, you'd have that month already. And gosh, that's like, it's no time at all, right? It's already December 3rd. Where do we want to be by the new year, And again, it's not so much about the goal of, for me, say the goal of losing weight just comes to the top of my head. Okay. It's like the goal of being more organized. And again, I don't even want to make it a goal per se, but it's going to be me. I'm going to be more organized because I need to be. At this point, I was okay being a little unorganized before because it was, it wasn't a huge deal. But when I'm working with people with mental health, and when I'm working with people with, serious stuff going on, and they're taking a huge shift forward, if I don't send them the right stuff before when they need it, that's my failure, and this is really what I want to do. So if this is really what I want to do, then I have to follow through, and I have to, this is really one of the priorities. So that's what I'm going to write down, right? So following through. Okay. So now I dial it down a little bit more. Following through with what? Okay. So I need to contact, Brad, Josh, David, I need to contact, and you just brain dump there. Okay. This is your week. It's not a to-do list, but it's the things that you need to do to move forward. And my following through is how I'm going to be moving forward. Then I actually need to email a bunch of people that I've had one-on-one sessions with, and they wanted me to get back to them for another one. Okay, so we're going to do that, right? And I'm writing all that down. And again, it's not so much a to-do, for just like what I need at the grocery store. That can go in your phone. But this is how you want to move forward and being really clear and concise with it. I'm going to spend 30 minutes max on Facebook. I'm going to spend 30 minutes max researching this one project I'm on right now because I get sucked into rabbit holes. I'm going to spend 1 hour on this other business that I have, whatever it is, right? You're dialing it in to what you really need to move forward. And this is all your could do's. Then there's your will do's. What will you really do this week? So you don't have to do them all, but these are going to be on your list. So, hey, if you happen to get some of those other things, out of the way or just under control, then you have your other things right there. And you're not wandering around in brain fog going, I wish I had written, I know I was supposed to do a whole bunch of things, and then it falling apart the next week when that person asks you for that email and you're like, oh, I knew it. I even had it in my lenses. Because guys, you know what? I did my lenses for probably 6 months, not religiously at all. And I was still getting frustrated because I was still, those things were still pulling, the structural tension was still pulling a lot. And the thing that changed was doing my lenses, making my choices every day. Because when I wake up and I make the choice to follow my joy to abundance, it makes me smile. And it makes me think of all these great things that I can do. And all these people start popping into my head that just had, messaged the day before, like, oh my gosh, Jack, after that recode, like I was so good for a few days, it was like really, really good. And then, but because they weren't looking at anything, or sort of, we didn't do lenses per se, that recode's only going to take them so far. This session will only take them so far, because it really is just a few minutes every day of honoring yourself and giving yourself that time to go inside and just kind of go, what do I really need to get where I want? Now, if it's more emotional support, if it's things like this, okay, like, and Timothy, for example, being with emotions, right? Feeling overwhelmed with lots of emotions and stuff. So what do I need to do to get a bit of a handle on my emotions? Okay, so that is only something that you can answer, right? So maybe it's like, maybe things have popped into your head. Maybe right now you're thinking of them. Maybe it's, for me, it was essential oils, right? Because I needed more than just to be able to make that choice on my own. I needed an external source. There's something that we do called anchoring, where we actually set, instead of feeling overwhelmed or just feeling super sad, or like whichever feeling it is you don't want to feel, what we do is we think of the feeling we really do want to feel instead. So instead of feeling like, even with a big grief or loss, right? Instead of missing them, instead of feeling like you can't go on without them, let's think about a feeling that you do want. We're just playing. Let's just think about a feeling you do. What if you were to think of them and be happy and comforted? Wouldn't that be nice, right? So that we set an anchor. We use an external source by touching, set it in a few times, just like an addiction where you do something a few times, the chemical cocktail comes. By touching your anchor, that chemical cocktail comes. So I was thinking of actually doing that tonight. I wanted to do everything tonight. There were so many things, but this is right. So getting that sort of overwhelm is easy to kind of take some of that pressure off, because now it's all on paper. Even if you're journaling, that kind of thing, you're sort of sorting some of that out. But I find this lenses, it just lets you dial right in that fun, that fitness, the financials, the family. You're just going to kind of like be able to plug it all in so that it makes sense for you, and it's very clear and concise, and that you're able to actually have your brain not work against you and work for you. So once you go into that week, you're going to go into the day, you're going to pick your choices for the day. So you're going to have, I choose a life. I choose to live a life I love. I choose to run a easy, fun, and lucrative business. I choose to live with ease and grace. I choose to feel peace. I choose to feel peace, and you make that choice for the day. And if something starts to make you not feel peaceful, what we do in the lenses is we look at, where did I feel off last week? Where did I feel off yesterday? Why did I get emotional? What was it? And we look at things a little bit, right? Were you emotional because you were hangry, right? Or were you emotional because you maybe didn't get enough sleep? Were you emotional because it was something huge? Were you emotional because it's something you've been holding in? But when we look at that, it's all it wants is to be honored. often. And we spend so much time trying to stop our feelings that sometimes we actually need to let that feeling be there for a minute and give it some grace and just ask it even what it's, like, oh my gosh, do I really need to feel all the sadness, Take a deep breath and allow yourself to be okay with feeling it, because you're a person that likely has these feelings for a reason, probably because you're here to help many others to not have to struggle and to be able to actually get their emotions in check and to be able to have, coping mechanisms. And because there's so much out there, it's just like, what do? You could read every book under the sun, right? Okay, guys, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I would just love to do a little recode meditation with you if everybody's okay with that. Just make sure you guys are still with me. Chat me a 1, just shoot a 1 in the chat box, just so that I know you're okay and that you're ready to just allow me to take you guys on just a really gentle, safe, guided little meditation that's just going to kind of get our brains lined up for this week to be able to just move forward. It's so cool. We probably lost Shannon already because awesome. As soon as I saw her get into the field, this is really cool. When you're in the field with people, you can kind of like, I feel like this little whoosh sometimes. It's really hard to describe, but I saw Shannon's eyes kind of glaze over and I could tell she was kind of in that field. And it's really neat as we've been working more together. I hope you don't mind if I share, Shannon. I'm just so one of the things that happens is that we have all these part personalities, the ones that we're going to bring to the table today to chat with us. And when they've been really strong and been really protective, they're not always on board 100% with this shift. So what happens is you kind of almost fall asleep. It's not really falling asleep, it's just getting into that sort of that theta state where your body can actually, you're hearing me, but you couldn't repeat what I said. You probably don't even really know where you were for a minute, kind of like when you're driving. So it's really neat. The whole super conscious mind is absolutely incredible in allowing these just these really gentle commands to the brain to just align things, to make it so it's not pulling so hard, so that emotion, is able to just be held but not overtaking. So we're going to do some work in the field with you guys here. Okay, awesome. Got some 1s here. Perfect. So I'm just going to ask that in your guys' heads, you are okay with giving me permission to just connect with you here tonight. It's awesome. And I just want everybody to take a nice deep breath. And when we are breathing, it's so important to actually breathe from the belly. So when we take a deep breath in, our chest should be moving a bit, but our belly should be the one expanding with that breath in. So we're literally allowing that stomach to expand like a big basketball. It feels very wrong because we're always sucking it in, but we want to expand it when we're breathing in. And when we're breathing out, we want to almost breathe out like we're blowing up a balloon. And I want you to take an extra breath, because at the end, you can kind of empty your whole diaphragm out of that stale air, and it just allows so much more oxygen into your body. And when we breathe through the diaphragm, we're getting 80% more oxygen into our blood and into our body. And after wearing masks all the time, who can't use a little bit more oxygen? And the other thing I do is I want you to feel how, when you feel that breath expanding, I want you to see if you can expand your lungs out to the side. And you can actually sort of fill up those side lungs too. So we always fill up the front and then do an extra little fill up the sides of those lungs. Good, just getting some good oxygen flowing there. All right, you can just breathe regularly now, and we're just going to imagine a sunbeam coming from, you can be sitting and you can be feeling it maybe coming through the window with just super warmth. You might be outside. I always feel like I'm standing outside when I start to feel the sunbeam on me. And I want you to picture the sunbeam having like little dust particles floating through it, like you're seeing little sparkles. And I want you to notice those fine sparkles start to kind of come in with a bit of a wind tunnel and come with this almost like this gentle beam that just brings it down right to your body and right to your head. And I want you to almost feel like those sparkles are sprinkling over your whole crown chakra, over the whole top of your head, and just melting all the muscles, melting all the tension. It's very good. And just feeling those little sparkles touching every little cell in your body. And as it does, it's like it lights it up and it just turns the magic on again, turns the cleaning out of the cell on, turns on the mitochondria, turns on the things that needs to be turned on, and turns off all that extra stuff that's been in there, like from just years of chronic stress. It's like your cells are just being able to get sprinkled with sparkles. And we're going to feel that moving down the third eye, right through the face. And I want you to just feel your eyelids getting nice and heavy. And I want you to try and imagine those sparkles just sprinkling through your jaw and your neck, kind of opening up the inner ear chakras that you have and your throat chakra, and just allowing those little sparkles. I almost feel like they're almost electric. They're just sparkling as they touch the cells they need to touch in a very gentle tingle. And it's just beautiful. And it's just moving down. Another nice deep breath now through that diaphragm, and those sparkles are just filling. The heart chakra is just filling up from the bottom. It's like it's tingling, it's getting circulation that it hasn't had. That's what that feeling is. It's circulation. It's almost like liquid sparkle now, just filling all your cells, filling all your systems, filling the nervous system, just regenerating everything. And we're just going to feel that all the way down through the solar plexus, right around the belly button and down through the sacral chakra, right into your root chakra. And we're just allowing all those sparkles to just fill. And I want you to visualize those sparkles moving down your legs and your hips and washing away fears, washing away angers, washing away stuff that's just been stuck in there that's just keeping you from moving. We're just letting all that stuff go. It's like it's going away with dust as those nice shiny sparkles start to come into the body. And just feeling them whirling around and just settling where they need to, just feeling like liquid gold and silver, beautiful sparkles. And I'm going to speak to your superconscious as if it's you, because it's your whole field. And we're going to go for a little walk into a nice lavender field. And superconscious, I'd love you to just be able to set this new point of living with ease and grace, and living with love, living with total control over our energy, living with that true health, those true choices. Superconscious, I just want you to look at all of those and just bring them into that point A, that GPS. And I want you to just dial it into the GPS right now. I just want you to envision how that would look if you were typing that into your phone right now, typing it into a computer on the wall, just do, like if it was on Star Trek. I can Just picture this really cool computer and you're just dialing in your GPS. You're just, thank you. We're going to do a perfect treatment plan and the perfect order around this. And we're going to do a massive change history on all of those old points in this new GPS tracking system. And when this tracking system goes off, I want you to be able to hear in your head, back to route, go back to directed route, or rerouting, whatever your system says, when it's lost, when it's overwhelmed, when it's feeling that emotion, feeling that I don't have this, you're going to dial in your GPS and you're going to take a nice deep breath. We're going to do a big treatment plan around that. Everything super conscious that we've brought in that will just allow us to have this direct dial and doing a massive change history on that. And we're going to walk into this lavender field. So I want you to envision nothing around you but purple flowers. Some of them could be different flowers. They could be pansies. They could be your favorite little Johnny jump ups. They could be anything. But I want you to think about the color purple. And I want you to think about nothing but a field of flowers as far as you can see. I want you to stand in that field and I want you to just feel how good it feels. You're going to feel the sun on your face. You might feel a butterfly or hear a bee. But it feels like the safest, most beautiful flower field you have ever seen. And in your mind's eye, I want you to pretend that you're opening your eyes and you're looking right now. And I want you to see a table. It's whatever kind of table you want. I see like 6 different tables right now. We've got like an old antique table. We've got a cool, huge wooden one. We've got an old style one from like the 70s, a big wood one. Nice, clean white one. And I want you to just picture a table with about 5 or 6 chairs. It doesn't really matter how many are there. They don't all have to get filled. Because right now we're just going to ask a few parties to the dinner table, and we're just going to ask that all of our personalities that we have, some of them you don't need to know what they are. You don't need to know who's coming. I just want you to take a nice deep breath and just imagine sitting down at a dinner table. And right now we're going to invite all the parts personalities and sub-personalities that sort of come out whenever there's, a part of us that doesn't think we're smart enough, or a part of us that doesn't think we're capable, or doesn't think we're perfect, or doesn't think we belong, or doesn't think we deserve something. We're going to bring all those parts, those protector controllers, those inner childs. There's a wounded inner child coming to the table. Maybe it's the part that, was really hurt by your siblings, or really hurt by your parents, or maybe it's the part of you that's been hurt so bad that it doesn't feel like it can ever trust again, or maybe it's the abandoned part of you, or maybe it's Mama Bear. I'm going to guide you guys just for a moment to allow all of these parts at the table, whatever needs to come up right now will come up. So I don't want you to expect anything, but do notice the little things that start flitting into the mind and floating into the mind right now. Superconscious, I want you to take a look at all of the belief patterns, all of those big, strong belief patterns that keep us feeling like we're not smart enough, those belief patterns that aren't true but are still in our structure. We're just going to ask that some of those beliefs have just the perfect treatment plan, that nothing is going to be lost from these beliefs if we let some of this go. Nothing is going to die. There's not going to be any pain when we let any of these go. It's actually joy, because these beliefs were there for a reason, and it was truly, honestly, to keep you safe. It just may not exactly work anymore. And we're going to be grateful for all of these parts at the table. And we're just going to send them love when we hear something, when we may see a symbol, we may see absolutely nothing. And it's okay if we see nothing, because right now we're just dialing in that GPS to where we really want to go, what we really want to feel. What is it we really want to focus on? What is it you know you really deserve? And what would people think about that? I want you to just notice. Super conscious, we're going to create a perfect treatment plan around all those beliefs. We're just going to do a massive change history on that. Super conscious, I'd like you to bring any of the events that need to be loved a little bit, need to be hugged a little bit, need to be deciphered, maybe deleted, maybe, any of those events that need to just kind of let go from causing pain, just to lead to the greater amount of satisfaction. We're just going to bring up those events right now. There's a lot of stuff there. And super conscious, we're just going to think about all of those little unawakened parts that are just joining now. We're just going to bring those in, just those amnesic ones that were way back there. We're just going to allow them to just come in for this treatment plan. There we go. And we're going to treat and do a massive change history on all of that. Super conscious, I'd like you to just go in through some family generations, some family entanglements. We're going to bring some of these to the table, and we're just going to learn some wisdom from some of these entanglements, some of these feel like people telling you what you need, people telling you you're allowed. We're just going to take all of those lessons. We're big girls, big guys. We don't really need to be allowed to do anything. Who says you're allowed to do anything? Who says you're not allowed to do anything? You can eat cake in your undies for breakfast if you want. Doesn't go with the health and wellness, my superconscious is saying, but it's still good and fun. Oh, you guys are doing so good. So good. This is huge. And superconscious, I want you to just allow everyone at the table to sort of say their piece. And when they leave, it's just with the biggest hug and the biggest amount of love and grace, and not judging or feeling shame or feeling anything about these things. This whole creation's every single choice that you have made up until now has led you to this moment right here, where you're able to actually let some of this go. Your brain is rewiring and allowing that GPS to stop rerouting you. And just do a massive change history on all of that. And super conscious, I'm just going to ask that you go through the body, just aligning all of the systems that have just been producing all of these stress hormones, continuing the stress hormones, just allowing that cortisol to just slow and allow that inflammation to come down. Feeling really good. We're just going to allow that light, that sunbeam that was above us, to now shine on our whole dinner table. And I want you to notice that you can actually see this dinner table from a little bit farther away. And I want you to see who's sitting there still. There's some parts that still would love to have the lessons that they've been trying to teach you really take form in your brain. And so, like going over a bridge, you're on one side of the river and you're just going to take those few steps and just finally walk over that bridge. If you really wanted to get up from that dinner table and start to walk on the path that you really know you want to be on, I want you to ask yourself one thing before you get up from all of these people, all of these parts that may stay at the table. Some of them are going to come with you. Some are just going to sit there and have the smorgasbord that was sort of set out for them. And as you leave that dinner table, I want you to feel very full. I want you to feel like whatever information you needed to hear was sort of brought forth at this dinner table. And I want you to ask yourself if there's anything else that you need to know. If you really wanted to move forward towards being your true nature and purpose, and towards that true life of health and vitality, and making that choice to be the predominant creative force in your life, what would you need to do to really be able to live a life that you love? What's that next thing? You know it. It's inside of you, which is why we do this. You might just notice those things that come up for you. And super conscious would like you to just treat anything else that we may have missed regarding the dinner table. Just bringing any of these teachings that we need to move forward, adding them into this GPS dial. I'm doing a massive change history on that. And I'd like to just have you picture yourself getting to that bridge. And as you're walking over the bridge, I want you to just kind of stop, and I want you to look at the water underneath, and I want you to look at some of those things that might be in the water. Maybe there was some boulders that bridge went over. Maybe there was it seemed kind of impossible to ever get across that river. But when you got up from the dinner table, the bridge was just there. It was literally there. And if you were to go kind of stand in the middle of that bridge and just feel the breeze and maybe listen to the water, I want you to feel for a minute what this whole superconscious field would be telling you right now from that perspective, not from your own, but that higher sense of self that you know you can come home to, you know that's always been there, the one that really feels like you. What do you need to do? What are the next, just the next little thing? Nothing huge. It's nothing huge. What are those next few things that you really need to do? And we're just going to ground all of these memories into all timelines. And we're going to go really picture what a true life that you love would look like now. And I want you to finish walking over that bridge. I want you to just turn towards the other side of that bridge. And I want you to just walk over to the end. And in the end, at the end of that bridge would basically be your true land of plenty. You know, the garden, the greenhouse, the life of just being happy, just feeling happy, not feeling so weighed down, feeling like you have honored and given some of those emotions some time and space, and just honoring yourself when you know deep inside you need to say something, do something, because it's coming from the best place possible. What is it you really need to do for yourself? Not anybody else, not about anybody else. I feel like a lot of you, it started to be resistant right away. You were worrying about other people. What do you really need to do to make some of these shifts happen? Because they are happening and things are shifting anyways. But if you were to really make some choices and live a life you love, I want you to feel that feeling right now of living a life that you love. Picture it around you. Picture just, even if it's just sitting on a lake somewhere, even if it's standing in your enormous kitchen, even if it's sitting outside by a fire with real friends, just like having that amazing conversation where you're just lit up, and that chemical cocktail. I want you to feel that chemical cocktail right now. Oh, there it is. What's something you just love to do? Just love to do, you know, like, I want you to feel that right now. We're going to ground all those memories into the matrix of the universe and memory lines 1, 2, and 3. And do a massive change history on anything else that was missed today. That was really good. I'll let you guys just wiggle a toe and just open your eyes slowly and come back to me. And if there's anything you feel like sharing at all, I absolutely welcome you to. My main message to you guys now is the fact that we really need to take an action to sort of anchor this in really well. So what I will do is make sure I get these lenses off to you right away. My girlfriend Shilpi has her class at 9, so I'll have a little break. And if anybody would like, I can actually, I may even be, I wonder if I can share on here. It's probably easier for me to send you guys the Facebook page. Timothy, I don't think I have your Facebook page, but I know I have your email. So I'll send over the link to you just so that you can have it in case you want to hop on with Shilpi. She's pretty amazing. So I'll just give you guys a minute to come back. I'm just going to actually see if I can find her link while I let you guys just start to feel things again. Go to link. Okay, I'm going to share it in our group coaching page too. And I welcome you to as well. Tematope, I'll give you my group link too in the email. So if you like, I have all our replays and all sorts of classes and stuff that you can feel welcome to hop into. So I'm just sharing that link there, and I will leave the chat open if you guys wanted to share anything. You are more than welcome to. And if not, I will end the recording and I will say good night to you all. I hope that this was helpful in some way. I hope that you were able to see some stuff at the dinner table. Sometimes it can be pretty intense too. So of course, you guys know it's harder in a group just because there could be like a lot of stuff that you just kind of want to end up chatting about after. And of course, you guys know I'm here. I'm happy to chat. So I will be on Shilpi's call at 9 till I think it's about 10 or so. And then you guys are welcome to hop on that if you want. And if not, shoot me a little private message later and just let me know how you did. Are you doing okay, Suzanne?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, okay. Were you able to tune in at all, or were you distracted?
A little bit here and there, but it was overall good.
Okay, good. There's definitely